a stunning tale set on a northern Norwegian island is well represented in Bracelet, and there is no doubt that this game has a lot going for it when you see trailers and screens. But is Bracelet worth checking out? Well, stay tuned for our review, played through on the Nintendo Switch. Let me know your thoughts about Bracelet in the comments below, and stick around to see the final score at the end. Bracelet is a game of exploration both in mechanics and storyline, and follows the journey of Jesper, a 17-year-old Norwegian from the mainland. Jesper has a lot of traits that you might find in a protagonist of a story-based game, somewhat of a loner and struggling at school, but with a special relationship to his grandfather. Jesper's grandfather gives him a mysterious bracelet with magical powers, and his dying wish is for Jesper to return it to the island of Slepp, where he had grown up as a youngster. It's upon the island of Slepp that the story and immersion of Bracelet takes over. Jesper works through different puzzles, building friendships with the lovely Coraline and Hermod, as well as finding out his grandfather's history upon the island. Slepp itself is beautifully crafted, an expansive island that feels large in scope, yet doesn't have too much backtracking or travel time due to clever world design. There can be no doubt that the design and ambience of Slepp is first class, and I'm sure I'm not the only player who felt strangely at home and relaxed whilst interacting with the people of the island. You will be climbing mountains, breaking into churches, fighting with drunk sailors, and saving whales in this epic adventure that seems to throw interesting events your way at every turn. And through this whole experience, you're given the chance to build your friendship with Coraline and Hermod and make choices, both in friendship and flirting, that will change the ending that you experience. The story shows you this juxtaposition of a dying community upon an island with oil companies trying to exploit it, alongside Jesper finding out more of his true identity and becoming more than just a shell of himself, with the added confidence and relationships. Jesper's main solution to most problems is his bracelet. By focusing his attention and energy, he is able to move the physical world around him and fix up the old TV antenna for the neighbours. The power doesn't always turn out for the better, poor flowers, and the more you progress into the game, the less the bracelet mechanic becomes all that important, and the more that the story takes over your focus. I must say that after a while, using the same mechanic over and over again to solve problems did get a bit tiresome. And while some of the puzzles are quite fun to complete, others you will just want to get through as quick as possible to find out what happens next. Visually, Bracelet is an interesting game. I had a few issues with the character design at the start, but that grew on me once Jesper had made his way to Slepp. As mentioned earlier, the island of Slepp is so wonderfully designed, and the interactions between character quickly made up for the minimalistic approach to character modelling. I did really enjoy the way the characters have unique and interesting personalities, and whilst there's most definitely stereotypes at play, I really did enjoy the variety of characters and the pace of the storytelling. If I could review this game solely on storytelling, it would go close to a perfect score. The classic tale feel to this story, alongside beautiful relationship building and different levels of tension, is so well done. I have to say, during the middle parts of the game, we are taken on a flashback to past events, and without spoiling too much of the story, the emotional impact of this sequence is spot on. It really is enough to give you goosebumps. Bracelet gets you invested in the characters, and it does become a game that is hard to put down. There are a few things that I will mention that I didn't enjoy quite as much. The start doesn't quite live up to the rest of the story, both in intrigue and in design. If you were to play the opening scenes of the game, leading up to the funeral, you might be mistaken for thinking that Bracelet was going to be a dull point-and-click adventure style game, which it is most certainly not once you make it to Slepp. On the Nintendo Switch, you control Jesper's perspective and choices through a circle that you use on the right analog stick. This can take a little bit of time to get used to, although it does get easier after a while. I did find the camera angles at times to be a bit of a pain, and especially with transitions within rooms or houses, where it is hard to see the different things that you needed to interact with. If you have picked up on the tone of the review so far, you will know that none of these things are game breaking, and sticking through the opening 15 minutes or so will greatly reward you in the end. Bracelet offers a rich storyline with characters that really draw you in. wonderfully crafted world design is supported by music that just feels so right, and a main character that is likable and shows great self-growth. A game that could be described as quite simple, yet with so much depth and an array of choices that can influence how the game turns out for you. I'm sure by the end, you too will be wishing you could book your own week upon the island of Slep. 8.5 funky dancing parties on the beach out of 10 for me with this one. Let me know your thoughts below.